On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we got the Mississippi State football preview, talked a little about just the kind of general outlook on the rest of Mizzou's season and kind of what we're feeling after the college football playoff hopes truly died in Columbia, South Carolina. Obviously, they were kind of on the brink already, but of course, that third loss, brutal for the Tigers, and just talked about kind of how we expect Mizzou to respond. Then we looked at some numbers behind Mississippi State, where they might be the most vulnerable, which is a lot of areas. They're not very good. Spoiler alert. But we looked at a couple areas, weak points for them, strong points for them, and just kind of laid out our expectations for the game, finished with our score predictions. And then we talked a little men's basketball. We actually just did a stock report because it's been over a week since Mizzou's played. They've got 2 more games against low major opponents coming up. And so we just did our stock report on all the players, kind of talked about everybody in depth, all the scholarship guys, and just how we're feeling about them heading into the next round of games here, because Mizzou's got a couple here in the next few days. So all that stuff, great show for you guys. And then quick hits, of course, to finish out the show. Jersey, Shawnee's Maine birds. Best thing we learned. Had a bird debate, talked some college football. Florida Atlantic, new coach, talked some coach firings, which will become a theme of this show in the quick hits segments as we move forward. So fun show for you guys to get your weekend started, get you prepped for the Mississippi State game. So enjoy all that. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, November 22nd, and Missouri's college football playoff hopes are over, dead, in the toilet. Missouri lost to South Carolina. We, of course, recapped that game the other day or for Monday's show, so go check that out if you have not. Missouri's lost 2 of its last 3. Its third loss means there's no more college football playoff. It was already kind of almost out of the window before South Carolina, but made the game a little bit more heartbreaking to know that any chance they had also went out the window with that 4-point loss. That was very tough. So now with reset expectations, or I guess, just maybe a new outlook on the season, the rest of the season, Tigers looking to finish strong. 2 more games, Mississippi State and Arkansas. Of course, they play the Bulldogs first this Saturday, 3:15 p.m. You can watch it on SEC Network. Missouri at Mississippi State. The Bulldogs have not won a game in conference. They are 2-8. This is on paper, a much easier game than South Carolina. Missouri hoping to keep the Bulldogs winless in SEC play with a win. Payton, Kenny, your opening thoughts on, I won't actually say this game. Let's talk just the perspective thing first, because we talked about that kind of before the show, and just with looking at how Missouri fans should maybe look at the rest of this season now with the college football playoff actually doomed, although they kept Missouri in the rankings, which was a met with some scrutiny from other fan bases, which is really funny. But for you two, Payton and Kenny, what is your kind of outlook on the season now in terms of Missouri finishing strong, even with the chance of the playoff officially squashed?
I won't view this season as a failure if they are able to pick up these last 2 games personally. I mean, 9-3 does not happen at Missouri often. I think we should celebrate teams that do it. Yes, it's a letdown because this is as good a roster, I think, as Missouri has had in quite some time. And they came into the season with playoff expectations, but it doesn't have to be a failure. I'd be really hard-pressed to find fans that consider 9-3 with wins over a renewed rivalry win over Oklahoma, even if Oklahoma is no good this year, and a win over I don't know. Some more people I feel like do take Arkansas a bit seriously. Probably not everyone, but I still think you can consider that season a win. You'd still get a decent enough bowl game, get a fun matchup with a Big Ten team. Maybe if the stars align right, you could get Colorado in the Vegas Bowl, but um, it is disappointing. I mean, there's almost no chance. I think we see a guy like Luther Burden play past these last two games, and that sucks. You wanted so much more for a guy like Luther Burden, who just kind of changed the whole dynamic of the program in particular. But again, man, 9-3. I don't think Missouri fans have really earned the right to call a season like that a failure. If we had said 2-3 years ago, hey, Missouri's going to go 9-3 in a few years, and Luther Burden's going to probably be a first-round pick, every Missouri fan in the world would have considered that a win, and that's not even telling them about what happened last year. So, really, I think it's just about rallying these last two games, finishing 9-3. 9-3 looks a lot better than 7-5. I think everyone would agree with that. So, just trying to rally the troops, I think.
Coming into the season, my biggest thing was looking back on some teams that were a little bit middle of the road in the past decade and took that step forward. Texas in the 2019 Sugar Bowl, declaring that they were back that season. And then a couple years later, Baylor in 2022 went 12-2. Like there was just schools like that where Mizzou was kind of in a similar spot. Drinkwitz finally turned the corner with this program. They took a huge step forward in a season where many didn't have many high expectations with the head coach that some thought would be on the hot seat. And I said the biggest thing coming in the season is you want to replicate that or get as close as you can. I think we were blinded a little bit by some of those transfers. And the injuries were a big part that kind of played into that. I don't know if this team wins any more games with a fully healthy Brady Cook and if it turns the corner there. But you look at the Texas A&M game, you look at the Alabama game, those are complete blowouts. But, moving forward, it's still a good spot to go in. After going 10-2 last season and 11-2 after postseason play, winning 9 games is good. It's very respectable kind of moving forward as well. But, where this team kind of goes next year and you look at maybe a bowl game and some opt-outs, I think you're definitely going to see a shell of a team that it was this year. But that's when the transfer portal comes back in and see how these guys were developing behind a lot of these experienced starters.
Yeah, I think you both have good perspective. I remember Payton a couple episodes ago said, if Missouri could get to 9 wins this year, that's 20 wins in the last 2 seasons. And I don't know how I didn't obviously clock that as just, records, basic math, but that kind of puts something in perspective for me. And just like what you both said, it's just really impressive to see that in the last 2 years and what this team has kind of grown into. And yeah, the expectations are probably kind of like you alluded to, Kenny, go down a little bit with what you're losing again this year, especially with a guy like Burden leaving the program. And yeah, Missouri's in a really sort of critical time right now because, you look at a team that, like you both said, is building, is trying to get to that next plateau in the SEC ladder in a conference that just got bigger with talent with 2 teams that attract a lot of talent. And so, yeah, it can still serve as a building block for your program. Kenny, you cover recruiting. It's obviously like an exciting time there to see, how this momentum is kind of getting capitalized on and brought forward. So I still think there's a ton to play for in these last 2 games. And obviously, you get to a bowl, you try to get to the best bowl game you can. And yeah, back-to-back bowl wins would be great. The Cotton Bowl was an absolute movie. That's a college football playoff semifinal game now, which is crazy. Missouri was playing in it last year. But yeah, I think there's plenty to play for in these last 2 games. And of course, and we'll get to this next week, you got to beat the hell out of Arkansas. We got to keep that going. Battle Line Trophy. They're a little bit of a frisky team, but let's dive into Mississippi State a little bit. And Payton, I'll start with you. And then Kenny, I'm gonna have you be Mr. PFF and give me some things that you note on either side of the ball for the Bulldogs. But Payton, I'll start with you from the Missouri side first. After watching South Carolina and just looking at the game itself and what went well, what didn't for Mizzou, obviously this is a much worse team in Mississippi State. But what do you want to see Mizzou maybe get right if there's one or an area or two on the field on Saturday?
I mean, more than anything else, like before getting right, like just on field, you got to see how Missouri responds. That's actually something I'll always give credit to Drink for. There have been some really dire situations Missouri has been in all of his years as a Missouri coach. They could have folded last year after LSU or Georgia when Georgia officially ended their playoff hopes. Drinkwitz rallied them to win a New Year's Six game. All three of his first three seasons. Well, maybe not the 2020 season. They lost their last two games, but 21 and 22, those were lousy teams, man. And at one point each, they were both below 500. The 2022 team was 2-4 at one point, I believe. And each time Drink was able to rally them to make at least bowl eligibility. So this will probably be a tougher one because like it's hard to feel like you're playing for much now, but how this Missouri team comes out, if they look motivated, are they still playing for something? It looks like, I think that's the biggest thing. In terms of just on things, I really thought South Carolina was maybe their best game offensively of the season. It probably was, to be honest with you. I mean, that was just the closest to 2023 that the offense had looked. I mean, the wide zone run game was perfect. Marquise Johnson caught a deep ball. Luther caught a touchdown. It was a perfect game, really, for the not perfect, obviously. They settled for too many field goals, punted a couple times, but it was close to 2023. But the defensive side of the ball, too many, and I think Drinkwitz alluded to it in his press conference this week, too many blown coverages, just horrible play in the secondary at times. Marvin Burks just keeps getting his eyes caught in the backfield. It was a mess of a game for the secondary. There's been times where the secondary has looked solid this season, and they'll get a test in this one. I mean, Kevin Coleman is a legit dude at receiver for Mississippi State. This Mississippi State offense can score. The problem with them is their defense in games that aren't UMass and Eastern Kentucky have given up at least 30 points in every game. So it's really just how can the defense just keep Mississippi State's offense at bay enough for Mizzou to really just hopefully dominate Mississippi State on that side of the ball. I mean, because quite frankly, this Mississippi State defense has been a mess. I think it'd be a real bad sign if Missouri doesn't score at least 30 in this one.
Yeah, defense is poor. And Kenny, I think Payton, you feel free to segue any way you like, but when you look at this Mississippi State team, Payton mentioned Coleman at receiver, but obviously this is a Mississippi State team that can score some points, but they've had some weird shakeup at quarterback. This offense has been, solid, not spectacular. That's why they've only won 2 games. Maybe on that side of the ball, I mean, where can Missouri maybe exploit, and who kind of stands out to you for Mississippi State?
You look at the PFF grades and you just look at this team in general. Even if you go on Our Lads and you want to know something on Mississippi State, it's completely wrong. I mean, the team is completely different from what it looked like at the beginning of the season. Baylor transfer Blake Shapen is out for the year. They don't have Kevon Lee, their starting running back, coming into the season. They have a true freshman quarterback under center right now, and Michael Van Buren Jr.
Any relation to the president?
Yeah, he's his son, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, looking at these grades too, you got to filter by these games now, and they don't want to get caught in snap counts or anything like that. But not many positive grades on there. I mean, Kevin Coleman is the highest one, the wide receiver from St. Louis. He was the number 1 recruit in the state of Missouri not too long ago when he went to Jackson State and then transferred to Mississippi State. But he's 76.6. That is the highest among those players with 10 games under their belt this season. Seydou Traore is a experienced tight end, but I mean, even his grade is at 59.8. So it's just not many guys really standing out right now. And you look at some of
pronounced Traore, just as a disclaimer.
And you look at some of these the games that Mississippi State was playing as well. I mean, they lost to Toledo at home. They lost a bye game.
Sure did.
Going into that Texas game, though, earlier in the season, they played close with the Longhorns in that game. I know that Arch Manning was the quarterback then for the Longhorns when there was an injury, but to Quentin Ewers, but even then they kind of slipped away at 35-13. So there were games where Mississippi State played a little bit closer than expected. They faced a lot of injuries this season, a lot of shakeup on that offensive side of the ball. It's the first year under Jeff Levy. They're 0-6 in the SEC. You can't expect too much from the Bulldogs in this one. Really, they're just playing spoiler at this point. There's no opportunity for them to go to a bowl game, but there's still, steps forward, especially for guys like Kevin Coleman, who probably get draft looks in the near future.
Yeah, I thought I was reading when I was reading up, I didn't realize all the kind of craziness at quarterback. I know Kenny, on y'all's site, you did an interview with a Mississippi State guy, and he kind of said that wasn't really the plan. Was it supposed to be Shapen, and he was kind of the bridge? Like, Van Buren's a good player. He's a 4-star recruit. Went to St. Francis, actually. It's a really good prep school over in DC. So, like, I think, maybe you got something there with the way they're able to score. Coleman, like you said, he's draft eligible in 2026, so he'll come back and maybe be something for you. But yeah, I think it's like they either have to get in a shootout with teams, or you looked at those scores. It's real bad on defense. And Payton, I'll throw some numbers at you and then hit you with this question. It seems in particular Mississippi State really struggles in stopping the run. First of all, they're 128th in the country in total defense, 127th in rush defense. I believe, again, Kenny, to reference the article I read on your site, the guy said they have a safety named Isaac Smith and a linebacker, Stone Blanton, who are their leading tacklers essentially because there's always a hole and they just are right there and have to make the tackle because teams just run up the gut on them. So, Payton, you hear that. Like, it's got to be, I feel like, maybe a big game, potentially maybe a big Marcus Carroll game if you're going to do a lot of runs up the middle on Mississippi State's very weak defensive front.
Yeah, no, that's advantage Mizzou there. It's a wide zone first team, yes, but you do make a good point. If they give up a lot of they just get gashed up the middle. Maybe you do see a little more Marcus Carroll. Maybe you do see a little more Jamal Roberts or something like that. We don't really know for sure. But that definitely plays right into Mizzou's hands. They're going to be a run first team at this point. Nate Noel, it was just a perfect game for him, really, other than say for one play. Armand Membu and Cameron Johnson were excellent. I'm sure Missouri will try and take good advantage of that. Looking at the PFF grades, PFF has all four defenders on the D-line, the starting defenders on their D-line are 356th at their respective position or worse. So it's been a real bad unit for them this year. I would 100% expect Missouri to try and take advantage of that.
Kenny, Mr. PFF, what do you make of some of the numbers defensively for Mississippi State and maybe your take? Feel free to chime in with Jamal Roberts too. I didn't talk about him enough after South Carolina. I don't know if you guys chimed in.
You mean Kawan Lacey?
Well, him too, but I like Jamal Roberts. I guess Kawan had the good drive against South Carolina. They're both great.
I was going to say Jamal didn't have a carry against South Carolina, did he?
Yeah, you're right. That was the Kawan game, but yeah. I like Jamal Roberts too. Some of these backup backs from Mizzou are good. But anyway, Kenny, your thoughts on how Mizzou can maybe gash the Bulldogs on Saturday?
Yeah, even the secondary grades. Looking at the guys that have played 10 games this season, the most positive one is Bryce Pollock, who's one of their corners. But a lot of them is just very poor grading. Even just looking at it, we don't even have to say all the numbers. But if you see anything that's not green, they're not average. They're not even mid. They're below. And so that's just something, if you don't want to read it or kind of understand it, there's a lot of orange on here, a lot of dark orange too. So a lot of struggles just in this defense this season. There has been some shakeup on that defensive line. From what I've read and the research I've done, some of their D tackles or defensive ends have moved to the inside of the interior of that defensive line at the tackle position. So that's kind of a thing that they've seen some shakeup there. I want to, something about that running back position as well. One of the biggest things is going into this offseason, you lose two guys that were transfers, two veterans. I think Mizzou's going to be in a better spot than it has been in recent years with Jamal Roberts and Kawan Lacey. Still a lot to learn for Kawan Lacey, but he's definitely taken bigger strides than what you've seen in years past with Tavoris Jones, who really just never took that step forward. And now he's not really in the conversation anymore. Quan Lacey, a new 4-star, he's taken that step forward in his freshman season. Jamal Roberts is doing it in pass protection. He's running the ball as well. Even in that fumble after the Oklahoma game, Eli Drinkwitz gave him props for getting over it, putting it behind him, next play mentality. Even like they're preaching this to recruits too that come in. Like that's one of the biggest things that they care about. It's like their bulletin board. It's what they have like when they walk out, kind of mentality that next play, like flush it. That was something like I've always heard growing up too. And I think that's a good spot that they're going to be in at that running back position. And there's still going to be guys that they're going to look at as a transfer portal, even at the JUCO level that we'll talk about soon. But I feel like they're in a good spot right now with those two.
Yeah, I've learned in my years just never to be concerned about the running back position, because whether it seems like they have guys or not, someone always just randomly, shows up. Cody Schrader taught me that. So I feel like I've always been confident about them in the running back room. But yeah, maybe we see it. It seems like this is a game where that kind of happens. Kenny, I'll hit you with the same question as I hit Payton, and then we can roll into score predictions. Just for yourself, whether it's one area of the field, Payton talked about some of the secondary struggles and responding just in general to a loss and with your playoff hopes done. We talked about the running backs. Where's maybe somewhere you want to see, in addition to what we discussed, where if Missouri has a big day, I would like a big Brett Norfleet game. I think it would do good for his confidence. I don't know if y'all two agree, but where's an area you want to see Mizzou maybe excel in with a good opportunity to do so against a pretty weak SEC opponent?
Brett Norfleet hasn't been the same tight end since he gave up baseball. So for all those people that are saying that about Sam Horn, maybe there's something there as well.
There you go.
Jokes aside, yeah, that is something definitely you want to see. A guy who's been banged up a couple of games this season, really just hasn't been close to what he was last year. This is a perfect opportunity to do it. This will come off maybe as a joke to some, and maybe someone might take it seriously.
Oh, no.
But I think the biggest thing I want to see in this game is no errors on special teams. I think that is just something you have to prove. What did you say?
He said amen.
It's not happening.
He said it's not happening.
Okay.
He said amen in his robot voice.
Yeah, I could. I definitely could see something happening. But after the Oklahoma game, the South Carolina game, just like little mistakes here and there, and tackling and just stopping. Any fakes. I doubt there will be one. I doubt Mississippi State has that in the bag. But you want to see just a perfect game on special teams. You want to have Eric Link prove that his unit can do that. And I don't think this will be a game that comes down to special teams being the reason that one team wins and one team loses, but it is something that needs to be figured out moving forward.
I think I need to offer Payton a chance to rebuttal to that.
It's just you're probably wasting your time hoping for something like that.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen. It hasn't happened in 5 years. It won't happen as long as that guy is still the coach of the unit.
Well said. Well said. But Kenny, I like where your head's at. And you know what? If there is no errors, then we will discuss that on the recap. That'll lead our coverage, assuming Mizzou doesn't lose. Speaking of that, let's do score predictions for this week. Missouri, Mississippi State. One more reminder of the old game time for you guys. 2:30 p.m. in Stark Vegas, Mississippi. You guys ever been to Starkville, Mississippi? I want to go to a game there.
Absolutely not, and I will never go.
I'll be there, I think, in February for a basketball game, but I'll judge it then. Anyway, sorry, not 2:30. Did I say 2:30? I meant 3:15. 3:15 on SEC Network. I said the time wrong. Let's do predictions. Who would like to go first? Do you want me to go first? Have I ever gone first?
Nope, I'll go
ready.
first.
Right.
I always go first, so slow your roll there. Look, this isn't a game that is just a walk-in, show up and win like some are. I mean, Mississippi State is still an SEC team. They've got a very encouraging young quarterback in Van Buren. Considering he's a true freshman on a bad team, they're probably overjoyed with what they've gotten out of him. And you never know how Missouri's going to respond, how a team is really in general going to respond. After having their season goal effectively dashed in front of their eyes. So it'll be interesting. I don't think victory is 100% assured. But again, Missouri is just very clearly the better team here. I do think that Drinkwitz will rally them. I think that he'll get buy-in from everyone They're going to try and put Luther Burden show on, I think. I think that we're going to see a handy Missouri win here. I think Missouri wins 38-14.
All right. By the way, Kenny is up 6-2, 6-3-2 in predictions overall. He has gotten the last 2 right. So Payton, you and I need to put a stop to this.
He's gotten 5 of the last 6 right. So I mean, it's over.
Sheesh. No, I'm just saying, like, we just need to. We're not going to win, but we need to.
We got to rally.
Bleeding. Yeah, we got to stop the bleeding. Kenny, you want my score, or you want to go?
I'll go.
Right.
I've already won this thing.
I was gonna say I offered you because you're in the leader, so I figured let the winner decide.
I could also win one more, and then you guys combined score wouldn't beat me. Unless we tied. I guess it is 5.5. I think these guys are paid to play football too. There's a reason they're out there. There's stuff on the line for next season. There are things on the line for transfer portal tape, whatever it may be for a lot of these players. Still an SEC opponent. Let's go 27-10 is where I'm kind of leaning.
I'd be real disappointed if that's all Missouri scores.
Well, you might not like mine either. I didn't go a low scoring game, but I feel like I had it maybe at least closer for comfort than you, Peyton. I like a lot of points in this game. Mississippi State's defense is really bad, but I think they can do some damage through the air to Mizzou, and we've seen that secondary get burned time and time again this season. I think it's been better overall than maybe where my expectations were, but they can still rip off some explosive plays. I do have Missouri winning. I went 35-21. 3 touchdowns from the Bulldogs.
One last matchup I want to point out before we move on. I know you guys kind of talked about the secondary. One thing I noticed in particular, the slot matchup. Mississippi State's slot corner is Brylan Lanier. He is out of 865 graded cornerbacks, 863rd on PFF.
Boy.
He will be the one that has primary assignment on Luther Burden. So look out for that. It'll be a game Missouri, I think, tries to really run the ball. But man, this has Luther Burden potential here. I mean, Luther Burden's going to want to make a good mark in these last few games to kind of reignite his stock. I don't think his stock has fallen dramatically for this season, but it's not been the season he's wanted. So I think this is a good opportunity for them to get him some numbers.
I saw an ESPN mock draft today that had him as the highest wide receiver taken, which made me very happy. Had him above McMillan. Good. So him to Luther to the Titans is trending. That's what I've seen a lot. Which that'll be a lot of
God, no.
Well, they need Titans. That's the problem.
I don't care what they need. Don't let him go to that boring nothing franchise.
That'll be a fun offseason too, as we can just talk Luther Burden first round hypotheticals. Maybe teams make trades once we get the draft order. Anyway, there's our Mississippi State preview for y'all. Once again, 315 SEC Network for you to watch. If you're making the trip down to Starkville, I guess enjoy it. That could be it. That should have been a game Mizzou tried to take over, like a home invasion. Had a bunch of fans go on a bus or something. I don't know.
You don't think Stark Vegas is feeling the love for Levy Ball?
Levy Ball. It's the article I was reading was more positive on him, so maybe they've got some stuff long term. We talked about it. There's our predictions. We all got a Mizzou win, and we will see how it goes on Saturday. Before we go to quick hits, let's talk some men's basketball. It's felt kind of like forever since we last been over a week since Mizzou's played, which is wild. We hit the Mississippi Valley State game, which boy oh boy, those Delta Devils, they play games. They play games against teams.
Played tough against K-State.
They did. It was like, what is that? Like a 2-point game at halftime I saw or something that?
Yeah.
They were in it.
Maybe they can get to quad 3 status for Mizzou.
That's really, really wishful thinking. I don't think that's going to happen.
Quad 3 win MVSU. Get it trending, folks.
Yeah, but Missouri actually has quite a few games in the next couple of days here. In the next 5 days, they'll play 3, including against Pacific upcoming on Friday when you're listening to this, and then Arkansas Pine Bluff on Sunday. So we're kind of doing a 2-for-1 here. Not really going to preview Pacific or Arkansas Pine Bluff, with all due respect to Pine Bluff, Kenny. The Pacific Tigers, the one thing I'll share, the matchup here against Mizzou is a battle between two teams that did not win a game in conference play. The Tigers did not do that either. So
Two winless Tigers.
Teams in conference. I thought the fun thing to do, and we can go through it, I guess relatively quickly, is just do kind of like how we're feeling. We got some time off from basketball, time to let the first couple games marinate for Missouri. Let's do another stock watch for Mizzou's roster heading into these next two games. And really this next, I don't want to call it a mini gauntlet other than from a standpoint of like, it's just a lot of games in a row. No disrespect to Arkansas Pine Bluff and Pacific, but let's do a stock watch. I'm just going to go maybe at random and hit Payton with the first player. Payton, your stock watch, up, down, or just kind of meh in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Robinson. That's your player.
I think it's got to be up right now. I think after the season he had last year, he just didn't look like a confident player by the end. And this year it's been the exact opposite. It looks like a new guy out there, confidence-wise, strength-wise, which I know is something we talked about. There's still a ways to go for him. He plays still too fast for his own good sometimes, to the point where it gets him in a little trouble with fouls. And he hasn't hit a three this year, but the offensive game looks like it's improved. He's getting to the line a lot more. Guys are really frustrated when he's on them. His defense is ferocious at times. So I think he's definitely been up for me, especially with Tony Perkins not looking 100% healthy. He's held down the point guards well.
All right, Kenny, feel free to agree or disagree first and foremost, but your player, Aiden Shaw, stock up, stock down, or stay the same? I like this. I can just control the board.
This one's tough because there have been moments this year where I would definitely say stock up, but then you look at some of the games where he just wasn't getting many minutes. But I would definitely say it's stock up at the moment. And I think it's a spot where you've seen all the athleticism, you've seen all the traits that he was raved about out of high school, all kind of coming together in this third season with the Tigers. So I would say stock up right now for Aiden Shaw. I was thinking about this too. When you look at where this team kind of goes moving forward and these gauntlet of games, Jack, but you want to see the rotation get a little bit tighter, but you also want to see a lot of these guys when there's this many games in a row, someone step up and have a big game. And I think we could definitely see Aiden Shaw, bully some of these smaller teams. Nothing against them, but there's definitely gonna be smaller guys that he might be matched up against. So I would say stock up for right now. Just want to keep seeing him get in that rotation, possibly be a first guy off the bench if it comes to it.
I think I agree with you. It's going to be a situation. I think it has to be at some point, right, where there are not cuts to the team made, but there are cuts in the rotation made, and who is going to get left on that outside looking in. And I think Aiden Shaw is above that bubble line right now, and we'll just kind of have to see how it goes.
100% from three.
Giannis, one attempt?
Yeah, and I wouldn't, I would point at this and just say the stats don't really tell you the whole story about how his season is going. Yeah. You've definitely seen positives in his play and more consistent minutes. If he's pushing past 16, I think you want to see it a little bit, maybe even closer to 20 in some of these games. I think you're going to be in good shape where you kind of feel like where Aiden Shaw is going to be the remainder of the season.
Absurd amount of double-digit minutes on this team. All right, Peyton, I'm just going to go in order from top to bottom on the list I'm looking at now because it's going to get too confusing. Caleb Grill, stock up, stock down, or stay the same?
Way up based off these last two games. I mean, he's literally been the player I think everyone was hoping for. Missouri coaches, most of all. I mean, they've been saying this really at the peak of his powers could be their best player, and we've seen it the last couple games. I mean, he single-handedly won them the Eastern Washington game. They actually needed everything they got from him to win that game, but against Mississippi Valley State, he made his three-pointers there as well. So it looks like he's starting to get his shot more comfortable. I still don't know if I totally 100% see the defensive ceiling. Everyone is saying he's not a bad defender, but it's not like this defensive juggernaut that you maybe expect from the Otzelberger Iowa State program. but he has been a decent rebounder. I'd like to see him pull in a couple more. The shot selection has improved these last 2 games, mostly because he's making them, I'd say. There's still a couple really deep ones, but he's not falling over and attempting threes to try and foul bait like he was in the first couple games. So I would say his stock is definitely up, particularly in these last 2 games.
The thing that will determine how good Caleb Grill is this year is if Payton, by the end of the season, and me, frankly, the first thing we think of when we think of Caleb Grill is something other than the Minnesota incident and then the ensuing comeback. That was the most biggest bluff in NCAA basketball history from a team. Yeah, I love this guy. I think he can be a really, really good piece he's kind of built for Dennis Gates' system. He can run and hit threes, and that's just what you need some of these guards to do. Kenny, Tamar Bates, stock up, stock down, or the same for you?
I felt like I was going to get Tamar, and coming into the season, I've said this a couple times, it feels like we just didn't hear about him much. There was just so much talk about the freshman class, so much talk about these guys coming in. I know you want my answer. I'm going to just say right in the middle. I think he's just kind of performing exactly what you expected. He's and there's nothing wrong with that. He was arguably Missouri's best player last season, and there wasn't really anyone else competing with him besides Sean East. So I think you're definitely in a good spot if Tamar Bates is just kind of replicating what he did last season, just continuing to do what he does. And he does it silently, it feels like, because there are a lot better players around him. And when you get a lot of better players around him that probably want the ball a little bit more, and you're still seeing this kind of production from him, I think you're in a good spot. So I'd put it right in the middle. No stock up, no stock down.
Could not agree more. I think that is dead on. I think the Tamar Bates you're getting right now is the one I think Dennis Gates was hoping for. It's the exact same as last year, but like Kenny said, better players around him. He gets to kind of fade off doesn't have to be the focus of every single defense, and I think that makes him even better.
Yeah, the numbers are trending in a good way for him. He's doing the 50-40-90 thing again, which would be amazing.
Isaiah Mosley, is that you?
Yeah. I want to see it. We'll see. I think there are some games where this is going to sound really harsh, where he doesn't necessarily try to do too much, but he almost does want to make himself the focal point. And I think he needs to balance. He's going to need to balance that against good teams, where that's going to have to happen at times, because I think he is their most dynamic scorer. But then it's also going to have to be, letting some of these other guys eat too. And so, we'll see how that balance goes. So I agree. I think I'm pretty neutral on.
Torvik has him as their best player right now.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Peyton, another newbie, Mark Mitchell.
I'm going to jump in there for a second.
Oh, sorry, Kenny.
I have a question that kind of builds off of that. I mean, the Martians have the death beam, right, on Earth. Who's taking that shot? Who's Golston this year for you?
That's a great question.
That is a good question. Yeah, I want to hear what you say first, Jack. Do we need a 2 or a 3, Kenny?
I don't know. You guys choose.
Okay.
A 2 or a 3?
My answer is different depending.
It's a go-ahead shot, or it's going to be go-ahead.
Oh, yes, a 2 or a 3-pointer.
Yes.
My mind was elsewhere.
Let's go 3. Let's go.
You need a 3?
Dagger. Yeah.
Oh man.
3 or deep range 2.
Well, see, that changes it, because honestly, if I need if we're talking a difficult turnaround jumper, I got kind of a left field one. Maybe Marquise Warwick.
Yep, I would if I need a turnaround jumper, I'm probably banking
that
on
dude
Warwick
can score.
there.
I mean, it's we keep hearing the whole he's the leading scorer or whatever. But that dude can get a bucket. He's kind of good. He's got it. He's a little ghostiny, like the little Mahomie.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little ghostiny. I like Marquise Warwick. He's good. I think that would be my pick. If I needed a 3, it's Caleb Grill.
I think I'd probably agree. If I need a 3, it's Caleb Grill. If I need just any type of bucket, I might go Tamar. I'll tell you what, though, if it's like a 1-point game, I just got to score by any means necessary. What the play I'm calling if I'm Dennis Gates is I'm trying to get favorable matchup switched on to Mark Mitchell, and I'm giving the ball to Mark Mitchell because I don't. You were gonna say I'll just give my answer because you asked stock up, stock down. I'd say stock in the middle for Mark Mitchell right now because he's doing what he should be doing, every advantage favorable advantage he's getting, he's taking. He's not passing out or anything like that. If he has a smaller guy on him, he's trying to take him to the basket. And I think that's a good thing. I won't go up all the way yet because he had a rough second half against Memphis, and they need better from him in those types of games. But it's still, since then, he's responded very well. He's getting to the line. Hopefully he's able to make around 70 to 75% of those instead of 66. But I would say middle for him, but he's a smart player. I mean, when 61% from the line this year. That's not good. He needs to be better than that. But every favorable matchup he's getting, he's taking. I think that's good. He'll get those opportunities in SEC play as well. So as long as he's able to keep finishing around the rim, I think that's a plus.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think
plus he made 2 3-pointers against Mississippi Valley State, and one was a catch and shoot.
That is nice.
That's big.
If he develops any sort of that, then I think it can get really scary. And I think that's like, he's obviously not at the level of like a Kobe Brown, but we saw Kobe Brown over the course of his career learn that. And if he can be on like a speed run version of that program where, it doesn't have to get quite to the level that Kobe Brown could shoot it by the end, but like if it can get halfway there, a quarter of the way there, you're going to have a really versatile guy on your hands. So that's a good point. I'll do these last few rapid fire just real quick. You guys both just give me a up or down, and if we disagree, we can direct these impasses. Trent Pierce.
I'd say up still because he was really not good last year, and I think he has been he's shown he could be at least a guy you rotate in.
Very hard to go down.
Okay.
Up to. I think that first game just has to stay up.
It's up for me. Marcus Warwick, we just talked about him. I'm up.
I think up after his last performance offensively. I think that's
that's fair. I would the first few games though, I'd say down. I mean, he was very good in those first few. But he was very good against Mississippi Valley State. He looked like an active leading scorer. So I'll say middle for now.
Okay. He was a non-factor against Memphis. I agree. Tony Perkins. I gotta go down.
Way down.
I'm down.
He has been low. Bad.
Is this a situation where they like, I don't know, maybe he's a guy they don't end up starting down the road if he can.
He hasn't been healthy. And I mean, his shot, I mean, he's never been efficient if you look at his career numbers, and he's still getting to the line a decent amount, but he's not shooting well from there. I mean, the assist numbers are down from last year. Steal numbers are down. Fouls are up. Turnovers are up. It has to be down. He has not been good.
Yeah. Let's come back to him too. Once we know that we can say he's like fully healthy and himself out there, then we'll definitely reevaluate.
Well, yeah, none of these guys are,
everyone else is that's what it is for the remainder of the season.
They're not in the toilet, but yeah, it's tough. Marcus Allen.
Up. I have been impressed by Marcus Allen. Good touch around the rim, grabbing boards. The defense has been good. They trust him clearly. I think it's up.
Anor Boateng. I think I'm neutral.
Yeah, neutral.
Haven't seen enough.
He's flashed, and he's also shown rookie moments. I think he'll be good. I'm not worried about him, but hasn't made a 3 yet or anything. He's just been okay, which is fine.
I'm a little bit blinded by the MVSU game too, because looking at these numbers, that game ended in the fourth quarter. Seeing a little bit more athleticism from these guys. I'm just in a spot where I'm going to say up on a lot of them.
Yeah,
I'm going to say neutral on Honor though.
Jacob Cruz.
Down for the most part. He was good against MVSU towards the end, but the defense, I don't know if he's playable against certain SEC teams with that defense.
Josh Gray. I'm down.
I'll say neutral trending down.
I'm down.
He's had moments where I see the vision, like you see those moments where he's just a great glass cleaner. Too much, like he too much top of the key stuff for me. Like he needs to get his butt in the paint and just sit there.
Stay there. And then Payton Marshall's the last scholarship guy. I'm just not. He's not ready yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna say down. He doesn't look ready right now, which is again, it's okay that Honor isn't a guy that looks like he's going to be one and done. It's okay that Peyton Marshall doesn't look like a guy that's ready to really contribute right now. They're freshmen. Remember the how good and by good I mean bad the freshmen looked last year. I mean, it was a mess.
Yeah. All right. There's your stock up, stock down update that's replaces a preview for Pacific and Arkansas Pine Bluff because hopefully Missouri should win those games by
I
plenty.
have one factoid on each of these matchups, or just one take, really, I guess. Pacific, I think Pacific's going to be a little frustrating for people at first. They hung around with Arkansas. I think they'll hang around with Mizzou until the second half. I think it'll be a closer game at halftime than people would like.
Okay.
They have one guy, Elijah Fisher, who is a bucket. I would say for UAPB, that Torvik and Ken Palm rightfully have MVSU as 364 in each of their rankings. Torvik has UAPB as 361. So that should be Missouri does not have to beat UAPB by 70, but let's go ahead and just blow them out of the water as well, Dennis.
Chalk that one up. All right, there you go. There's your Mizzou segment preview for basketball. Enjoy the Mississippi State game. And we will finish the rest of this show with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. We will finish out the show. First up, we have jerseys of the week. Kenny, what's your very positive jerseys of the week as the dogs bellow in the background of your home? Sorry.
Oh, it's Peyton's dog.
That's mine. That's Sammy.
Oh, sorry, Peyton.
Shutting her mouth.
Yeah, I've tried to find some way to put this in here without being a downer, but UMass's coach, head coach that coached against Mizzou, Don Brown, in his second stint with the Minutemen, is no longer the head coach, added to the graveyard of former coaches that faced Mizzou in a season. I guess the jersey of the week, or even helmet of the week, is this nice maroon UMass lid.
What's it say that a coach that apparently wasn't good enough for UMass was able to successfully execute a fake punt against Missouri's unit?
Maybe they'll hire Link as the coach of UMass.
I don't think he's qualified for that.
Tough start. Yeah, we're in
UMass is moving to the MAC soon, so I mean, this is actually a job that will have a little more juice behind it. So
Jacob Peeler.
It's
all right. Why don't we knock that off?
It's very sad. It'll be sad that now it's only going to be Notre Dame and UConn in the independent standings. No UMass. It's very tough. What are you laughing at, Peyton?
My dog won't stop barking. She just keeps barking.
Tell us your jersey or have your dog do it.
He just keeps going. No, my jersey of the week is going to be Navy's. Really, it's their helmet and their jersey. Kenny, if you would flip through the photos there for the people on the YouTube, if my dog would stop barking. These are very slick. They got like the Jolly Roger on them on the side. Or the bones. I forget. There's like a backstory to this. I do apologize. I don't know the full story, but it looks really cool. So that's why I'm honoring it. Do you guys remember when Mizzou used to do jersey reveals? God, that was so cool.
Yeah. We were like, all right, we'll make that a thing every week. And then they just stopped. They
just stopped doing it because people were like, oh, we don't like the jersey reveal you did at Nash Vegas because the uniforms don't look good. And I guess Mizzou football just decided to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Like they wore a new helmet last week. Like they wore the spring helmet in game. Like imagine the reaction after that reveal.
That's tough.
Navy is honoring the Jolly Rogers, who were established in 1943 and are the most lethal and history-rich squadron in all of the naval aviation and continue to exemplify the traditions and excellence of the professionalism of the United States Navy. Their tagline is Fear the Bones, and their call sign is Victory.
Their tagline is an
Very good. Thank you, Kenny. And the football uniforms inspired by them look amazing.
They are very sweet. They're very good uniforms. Yeah, nice. I bummer that they lost to Tulane. They couldn't make the Army Navy AAC championship thing happen. My jersey of the week.
No, I'll butt in.
Sorry.
Navy also lost to Rice. Don't forget that.
Sorry. Go Owls. Hoot. Hoot, hoot. My jersey of the week's going to Drew Lock. This is also kind of a bummer one, but this is going to be my platform to say Drew Lock was robbed. He should be allowed to be playing for the Giants right now. I like Tommy DeVito as much as the next guy, but this is ridiculous. He was named QB2, and now DeVito is starting, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
You gotta feel a bit for Drew Lock because, like, look, obviously he's not like a long-term starting quarterback anywhere, but like, he ran into a head coach that just hated him in Denver and Vic Fangio for some reason. They just after he had like that stellar stretch at the end of his rookie season, they fired the OC and then went with Teddy Bridgewater. Then they traded him to Seattle. I mean, he fell behind admittedly very fun story in Geno Smith's resurgence. But now he's just not even being given the chance to start in New York because the Giants want to openly tank, I guess. I don't know. It's tough for Drew Lock, but hopefully he gets a chance.
Yeah, let my man cook. Let my man go out there and play. This just shows Seattle much kinder to backup quarterbacks than other organizations. I'd like to.
I think Kenny's looking for permission to press post.
No, I mean, I wasn't going to post, but it is kind of funny that Tom Herman and Drew Lock both took L's this week.
Yeah. We'll get into the Tom Herman one in a minute.
Yeah, we got more. Yeah, Kenny, shout out crafting tweets in the middle of shows. This is great social mediating from the unwritten rule.
Post it.
Yeah, why don't we go tweet it?
I'll post it from my phone after.
Go tweet it because I have to stall the pull out the background clip.
I like No Cap, and he's the main bird.
Just kidding, I found it. Shawnee's main bird of the week. Kenny.
I found this out a couple weeks ago, and I totally forgot to bring it up. But Demarion Peanut Houston, who was on the Missouri team from 2022 to 2023, battled some injuries when he was on the team. Former, highly rated recruit for Nebraska, and then he went to Hutchinson Community College, which is just a school that Mizzou is going after, and actually currently going after with a JUCO running back. But the connection is for a bird. Demarion Peanut Houston is with Old Dominion now for another year of college football. Payton's yelling away and just ruining my screen time. I don't really get to talk much. But
nobody that's listening has any idea what you're talking about.
There you go.
Thank you. And, Demarion Peanut Houston, I guess the connection we could say, I mean, he has 9 receptions this season, 83 yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. Better for him after some years of some injuries. But I will say, I'm trying to figure out this connection with Bird. You guys can let me know which one you want. The Hutchinson Community College football team is the Blue Dragons, or we could go with the Monarchs that also have wings.
Well, the Old Dominion Monarchs don't have wings. Ooh. So not that one. I guess dragons have wings. There's no dragons. Bird. That's also not a bird.
It was a type of bird.
A dragon?
Yeah.
Here, I'll give you
a dragon
bird
is not
connection.
A type of bird.
I'll give you a bird connection. He used to play for the Missouri Tigers, where he apparently caught 6 passes. I could tell you one. I could not tell you where the other 5 came from.
I haven't.
Hey, I'm explaining the bird. Let me explain. That year, Missouri played South Carolina. South Carolina's the Gamecocks. Oh, there he played Yasso.
Yeah, they were all in one game. It was the bowl game.
I told you that. I never would have ever
6 catches, he had a touchdown
in the Gasparilla Bowl. I remember the touchdown because it was a broken play.
I don't remember the touchdown.
I did not know he had 5 other catches in that game.
I think I might have ignored, or I didn't watch this game because I was mad because I couldn't make it in person because of a snowstorm, even though I don't regret that at all because it was terrible and cold.
It sucked.
Also, I still, Kenny, a dragon is not a bird.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. It's a reptile. It's definitely a reptile.
Bird, like a monarch.
Do you think a plane is a bird?
No, it's not. It's an inanimate object.
Well, it has wings.
It's an inanimate object. It's not an animal.
The dragon is not a bird.
Not a bird.
It's a bad connection.
Flies like a bird.
So does a plane.
No, planes don't flap their wings. Okay. Dragons do.
I'm shocked.
I think I'm on Kenny's side now.
It's not a bird. It is not a bird. It's like a dinosaur.
The Monarchs one sucked, Kenny. That was a bad try at a connection.
Like a butterfly.
Look up Old Dominion's logo.
A butterfly isn't a bird.
I know. I'm aware. You can look at it in the background on the ESPN.
No, that's not even the right one. The other one is a lion. Lions don't have wings.
He
That
also
is
said
incorrect. That is
he-
incorrect.
Lions do not have wings. That is not
No, the
incorrect.
Warner Brothers logo. They have wings. Okay, there it is. We found it.
what do
We
you
did. It's not on my
You
screen.
you didn't pull it up.
No, I'm just saying that's what it is. The Warner Brothers logo with the lions with wings.
Google that right now. Let's show the people.
Demarion Houston, I'm glad to see you're balling out,
We-
my friend. That's awesome.
He also said it's like a monarch.
That
There's
is
no
just
wings.
a lion. That
No
there's
wings on this
wings.
logo.
There's
Oh,
no
this is like-
wings.
What is that called when you think that there is something but there isn't? The
Mandela effect.
This is
You
not the
don't have a
Mandela effect. You
The-
thinking a lion has wings is not the same thing as that.
Like what? Oh, I guess there's a winged lion there, but that's
just
not
an
a
AI.
real thing.
Oh, this is awkward.
Yeah, I'll say. I gave you a connection. They played South Carolina.
You might have
South
to
Carolina
ban
State.
that as a segment.
Moving on. I'm moving to the actual birds. The FAU Owls will have a new head coach after they fired Tom Herman. It's really funny. There were two Owl teams that played each other last week in Temple and FAU. FAU lost to Temple in overtime, but Temple went ahead and fired their head coach, Stan Drayton, anyway. So both head coaches from that game are gone. But yeah, Tom Herman, of course, of infamy, mocking a college-age sideline as the head coach of Texas. Yeah, he's a grown-up, all right. Of course, I think the lasting memory of him from FAU will be having Kodak Black in the locker room last season, and he what did he do? He he tried to shake Alex Golesh's hand earlier this year, and that didn't go well. Very embarrassing tenure for Tom Herman in Boca Raton.
Thank you, Kenny, for highlighting the response to the tweet with if you're on the YouTube. Ray Lewis was one of the candidates apparently floated, but he's apparently not a serious name.
That's like that rumor probably came up like just a booster going like, what if we hired Ray Lewis, right? Like that's probably how that conversation went, and someone was like, oh shoot, let's leak that.
Yeah, it just was a message board post that someone they were just like, we're gonna run with this. There's just an FAU fan base that was like, we're gonna make this loud enough that people think it's real.
Kenny, tell your Tom Herman stories from when you went to the Texas Bowl.
I have the one that even before then, when I was in high school, there was an offensive lineman that went to the University of Houston. He was a grade above me. His name was Max. I forgot his last name. His phone number is in my phone somewhere. But Tom Herman used to come to the football games when I was a junior in high school. Used to love him. I mean, I grew up going to U of H games, watching him coach, and then thought he was a little bit silly for how he acted in that Texas Bowl, which was my first Mizzou game ever. Also, Tom Herman thought he was going to be Lane Kiffin. That's why he went to FAU.
There you go.
That is exactly what he was trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out Coach Firings. We'll have plenty more of these, I'm sure, as the offseason continues. Peyton's liking tweets in the middle of the show. My main bird of the week is Connor Williams. Bird connection. He played for the Seahawks, and I say played because Connor Williams proved that if you're bad at something, you can just retire and just not ever do that thing ever again. He retired at 27. He was the Seahawks starting center, and he just retired because he sucked. So
good.
What was that, Peyton?
He lives here.
He lives here? That's what I heard.
He has been good this year.
No, he stinks.
PFF has him as the number 8 center in football.
Well, okay,
I'm making that stat up, but
yeah, okay, yeah, he stinks. So what I've learned is I can just, if I continue to suck at my job, I'm just going to retire. Because that's apparently what you can just do.
I don't think you're being paid NFL wages.
It's like the declaring bankruptcy when you're out of money. Like you can just declare bankruptcy and all your problems go away. That's what I've learned.
Connor Williams had a 63.9 overall grade.
Yeah,
Not the worst.
No,
it's been worse.
Sucked. He absolutely sucked. He'll enjoy retirement, buddy. Best thing you learned, Peyton?
Best thing I learned this week, the Arkansas-Missouri game will be at 2:30 p.m. Central on SEC Network on November 30th. It will no longer be on Black Friday, which is a bummer. I kind of like that tradition. It is on Saturday this year. They're going head-to-head with the Iron Bowl, so they won't get any of those neutral viewers. But, yeah, Mizzou, Arkansas. Arkansas makes the trip to Faroe for a 2:30 p.m. kick.
I agree with you. I'm also sad they don't do this. They're not doing it on Friday. The Friday game was so fun. Going to sleep on Thanksgiving evening, waking up and, your food coma and watching some Mizzou. Eat some leftovers. I guess you could still do that. It's only one day later, but eat some leftovers, watch some Mizzou, Arkansas. But I'm sad.
The Egg Bowl, no longer on Thanksgiving. That sucks.
Yeah. We used to be a country. Kenny, what'd you learn?
Best thing I learned this week is a time. You guys who probably listening to this maybe have already known his decision, but Jeremiah Jones, who's been a pretty high target for Missouri the last couple of months since he got his offer in July, is going to make his decision known on what his plans are for the next level. He is a commit to Nebraska right now, but he did take an official visit to Missouri. So maybe opportunity there for Mizzou to flip his commitment here on Friday. He's going to announce around 1 p.m. So that is the time to know. You might have already listened or heard about it by then, but he is aimed to play tight end if Mizzou does flip his commitment.
You want to put a live future casting, Kenny? You dropping commitment nuggets on us?
Yeah, we getting a prediction here?
Yeah, Rivals doesn't allow it. Doesn't allow future casts for players that are already committed.
You can just say one.
Talking with Jeremiah, I would feel very confident that his decision would be going to Missouri, flipping it based just on how strong his connections are with the staff, and including Matt Zollers, he's built a nice relationship as well, someone that really wants to throw passes to him soon.
All right, so if Kenny's wrong, everybody direct all your internet hate unreasonably onto him. If Jeremiah doesn't pick Nebraska, because we should always get really angry when 17-year-olds change their minds. So
yes,
everyone get really mad at Kenny.
Just kidding. Tell him what a terrible job he's doing. That's what you get for wearing a Syracuse hoodie on this Mizzou show.
We're really mean. Actually, yeah, no, that's a fair point, Payton. Best thing I learned this week, Missouri women's basketball. We've talked about the bad, but credit to them. They absolutely throttled in-state rival St. Louis 112-59 the other night. So you know what? I'm going to give the Tigers some praise here because I know we were kind of bashing them in a couple shows, rightfully so. I mean, they lost to Norfolk State and Vermont, but they've rattled off 3 straight wins, huge one over St. Louis. So, maybe Robin can try and turn the ship around for the rest of this season. So hopefully
this came out of nowhere. I mean, that was the first time they'd scored over 100 points in a game since 2017. I believe they only turned the ball over 3 times, which that wasn't just a problem with this year's team. That's been a problem with Pinchton's teams for a number of years now. So
they got up to 10 turnovers. However,
okay, I saw some stat about 3.
They did force 24 from St. Louis.
Yeah, wow. I mean, more of that. I mean, and I don't know, very, very, just out of nowhere. You wouldn't expect something like that from a team that lost to Vermont and Norfolk State.
They have Little Rock up next on Friday when you're listening to this show. So hopefully they can
stack some wins.
Yeah, keep it rolling, Robin. So there you go. There's your show. You have a joke for us, Peyton, to end things off?
I do, but before the joke, just one last thing about that SLU team. It's not like some garbage team. I mean, they won the WNIT last year, which is something. So also Kenny, I just decided to preemptively not hear this joke, even though it's a banger. No,
whatever, Kenny.
Knowlton, this is a good one.
We got to hold him accountable next time. This is ridiculous. Wearing Syracuse hoodies, whatever. All right, you say your joke.
What do you call a moose with no name?
A moose with no name. I don't know. What do you call a moose with no name?
Anonymous.
There
you go.
It's a good one. That's a good one. All right, there's a show. Hope you enjoyed. We'll be back on
Kenny
Monday
is
to
just
recap.
gone.
Yeah, no, he's fully abandoned us. He's jumped ship. He's probably going to do some show about Syracuse behind our backs.
Yeah, no kidding. Definitely not anything important.
Bad breakup or something. Or he's like breaking up with us or cheating on us. I mean, he's cheating on us
with his friend Aaron.
with an All right, that'll do it for Unwritten. We'll recap the Mississippi State game on Monday. Enjoy the game. Bye bye.